Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Aditya and this is my very first video. So there might be some issues which is related to the audio and visual aspects of it. Please bear with me through it. However, I had put a lot of effort and analysis in making this video appropriate for you and so that it doesn't consume much of your time. Please go through it and if you learn a thing or two other than what you already know, it would be beneficial. So the main idea behind making this video is that there had been a lot of things which I learned while I was preparing for the NEET UG. And usually while you prepare, you don't really realize this, but once you get through the exam and once you get out of that situation, you kind of start to see the things the way they are. So I thought, why not I put all these things together and make a video upon it and share it with you guys. So I hope it help you in this current upcoming exam. I tried to make this video as short and concise as possible. So have a look at it and let me know how did you find it. Now, without wasting much of your time, let's begin. Okay, usually any competitive exam has two major things what we have to look at. One is how do you prepare for it, and second is how do you approach that exam. I'm pretty much sure that everyone has prepared to a certain level for while appearing for this exam. It is not that area what I'm going to focus upon. It is mostly on the other side of the exam, like how do you approach an exam is what I'm going to talk about, and it's equally important. Like there is a saying which is said, knowing how to approach an exam is an exam half done. So I'm going to focus mainly upon that. Okay, on this note, let's begin. So this entire video is based upon the concept known as retrospective planning. Now, what is this retrospective planning and how is it important for us? Now, as the name suggests, this retrospective planning is basically planning things backwards. It's like you determine a date, in your case which is May 7th, you can call it as day 0, and you start planning backwards. That is, first you plan for what you have to do on the day 0, that is May 7th, followed by what you want to do on day 1, which is May 6th, and you go in backwards direction. The main importance as compared to the commonly used prospective planning is that it kind of defines everything more appropriately and it prevents bulking up of things. What happens in this prospective planning is you try to plan from today itself, and if there is something which didn't work out, you start piling it up on the next day, and as and when you keep going ahead, mostly on the last preparatory day, it becomes a huge lot of mass that you had to handle, and it kind of have a negative impact on your confidence. Whereas in case of retrospective planning, that is not the case. So it kinds of defines each day appropriately in the reverse order, and it defines what is mandatory to be done on a particular day. So what I did is, based upon the retrospective plan, I have divided this whole video into 3 parts. One, what you're supposed to do on the day of the exam. Second, what you're supposed to keep in mind on the last preparation day. And third, what you're supposed to do before that. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's first talk about what to keep in mind on the day of the exam. Since this is a really competitive exam where resources are limited and a lot our students are writing, and there is a lot of coaching centers to provide with all the resources. So what happens is that all the people, all the NEET aspirants reaches to a point of saturation where everyone has similar amount of knowledge. So what are the things that determines a rank? One is avoiding silly mistake, because thing is, silly mistakes are pure blunders. Doing them first of all brings your rank down, and the other person or your fellow competitor might not be doing it. That is one. And the other 3 things that you are supposed to keep in mind is how confident you are. Well, no matter what happens around you, it shouldn't affect you. Second thing is mindfulness. How calm are you while you are doing an MCQ, or no matter what happens around you, it shouldn't bother you at all. Third thing is the most important, time management. How well you are able to go through every questions and get back to those questions which you couldn't answer at a particular moment of time, and you have enough time for that as well. First thing I'm going to talk about is confidence. This is one of the key determining factor for the rank. Now, it is very easy to say that you have to be confident on the day of exam, but like I would like to give you some tips as well, like how to be confident on the day of exam. And there are certain ways you, if you want, you can try, and it might work for you as well. So one of the thing that might help you is that you must you everyone has a topic that they are really strong at, and you might have them as well. So it is if you recognize that topic, it is always better to revise the topic on the day of the exam in the morning, so that you kind of boost your confidence by yourself. Second important thing is that no matter what happens around you, it shouldn't shake you. As a saying goes, like a ship sinks from the water that is inside it, not from the water that's outside. So, using the similar ideology, you have to believe in yourself always. Third thing is that having a positive outlook. No matter whatever things goes wrong, just use a bit of optimism and change it, and have a positive ideology in your mind that you know more than what you think, or whatever you have learned, that is what is going to come in exam. Having that in mind, it's going to help you boost your confidence and help you remain calm during exam. And a certain amount of meditation, even just focusing on a breath for 5 minutes, that's more than enough. Can also help you. Second thing what you have to look for is mindfulness, or how calm or how composed you are on the day of the exam. And that is really important, like how good are you to get accustomed to that new environment. How, like, initial few questions might be a warm up for you, so it will take a bit of time to kind of get into the pace. That is understandable, but once you get into that slot, you are supposed to maintain that composure throughout the whole exam. So you have to realize that what do you know until now, it's more than enough. So and there is no need to take any amount of stress. What happens is that stress is a factor that comes to our mind when we think about the result. And result is something which is not entirely on your control. It is a competitive exam, and it not only depends upon how well you did the exam, it also depends upon how well others also did the exam. So it is something which is not under your control. You just have to focus on what are the things that are under your control, like uh, how well you're prepared for it, how you try to maintain your composure, and how you maintain your focus regardless of whatever things that goes nearby, all those things. Next thing what I would like to point is that it's always better to detach yourself from the environment. Like all those things that happens around you doesn't necessarily means that is happening to you for a reason. Just detach yourself from the environment. When you get into there might be a lot of security checkup. It might be uncomfortable, and there might be some technical issues with the computer. These are unavoidable. It might happen, but thing is, you are going to get the entire time in your hand. Those 3 hours 20 minutes, it's yours. Nobody is going to take those time from you. So it's better to understand that and detach yourself from the environment, not to get frustrated, not to get irritated. Even if something goes wrong, it's entirely fine, it's absolutely okay. But those 3 hours 20 minutes is in your hand. Those are the things that are in your control, and you have to focus only on that. Next thing is that the general idea what you're supposed to do, be on your center on time, so that you get kind of comfortable with the environment, and you can pass through the securities as well. be comfortable in your chair, all those things. Other than that is sleep is really crucial and important. What I've seen is that majority of the people try to rush the whole syllabus on the last day and try to appear in the exam on the next day sleepless. So that usually has a negative impact on them. Most of the people find it really confusing to answer because of the deprived sleep, and the stress and the sleep, deprived sleep kind of goes hand in hand. So it is really important that you have a good amount of sleep before appearing for the exam, and eat something light as well. Okay, now coming to time management. In general, you all know that we are supposed to give 30 seconds per question in bio, and the whole bio is supposed to get over within 45 minutes. Chemistry, you are supposed to target about 45 to 60 minutes, and physics about 60 to 75 minutes, depending upon what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. You're supposed to adjust it. This is in general. Uh, there are other two time slots which I want you to consider. One is the time for review, and another is a buffer. Now, time for review is that while you're going through the question paper, there would have been a lot of questions that you would have marked for review. So it is really important that you go back to those questions and review those questions. Second thing is that buffer time. Buffer time is the time which just goes off. Like in the sense, uh, there might be people who come to take your fingerprint. There might be people who come to take your photo, or you just got saturated in middle. You need a 1 minute break. That is the buffer time. It is very important you plan for the buffer time as well, and you do the entire exam accordingly. Now, while writing the NEET exam, what should be your target? First thing is that whatever be the reason, like how much ever you have studied, it doesn't matter. You are supposed to play aggressive. Ideally, you are supposed to go for a question number of more than 150, at least for a minimum. Average mostly 160 to 180 question. That should be your target, and you should play really aggressive. And while doing the same, whenever there is a question appears, it's always better to mark it by ruling the options out. That kind of make it more accurate and decreases the chances of negative marking. Now the like the in general, I would like to tell you what could be the way to do it. If you could rule out at least two of the options, it is always better you mark the answer, because there is a 50% probability that you are right. But if you have kind of if you could rule out only a single option, then it's better to go with your gut. Like if you feel like your answer is somewhat around the gray area, or you feel like it's probably the right answer, then you should go for it. Otherwise, you don't have to. Ideally, these type of questions is the one which you should mark for review as well. Now, the third category is that the entire question is absurd. You have no idea about the options, and in such a scenario, it is pointless to mark the option as well, and it is pointless to mark it for review as well, because it will eat up your time while you go for review. Now, how do you approach a question? Whenever an MCQ appears in front of you, first thing what you have to notice is the last line of the question. Because it is that part which tells you what the examiner is asking, or and you have to be careful about the except also. So when you read the last line, it kind of help you to recognize the except. Like in majority of the question, people kind of forget to see the except and they jump into the answers. So this is one method where you can avoid mistakes because of this. And after that, you are supposed to buffer through the options. Buffering through the options, you can kind of understand what are the categories of the options they are providing. So if there is one of the category which is standing out with respect to the last line of the question, you might be able to remove that option off. Third thing is basically, yeah, removing that option off. Now after that, you're supposed to read the entire question, then get back to the options, then rule out each and every option until you get your answer right. Okay, with that technique in mind, let's try solving this question. First, let's go to the last line. It says identify each blank and select the correct option. So we are supposed to identify these blanks. We have a look at the picture and it says population density, and we can see there are few things. A and C is the one which is adding into the population density. We'll just buffer through the options. It shows mortality, natality, immigration, immigration. So what do you think, which of these four things might add on to the population density? It is probably the natality and it is immigration. So we know that A and C is natality and immigration. Now we'll go through the option and we'll start ruling it out. First, coming to option A, C is natality, fine, but A is mortality, so this is ruled out. Now coming to option B, A is natality and C is mortality. C is mortality, so it's ruled out. Coming to option C, A is natality, C is immigration. Sounds okay, probably the answer. We go to option D, A is immigration and C is mortality. Since A is immigration, this is also ruled out. So the option turns out to be C. So why I am actually focusing on this methodology is that this is not going to help you in long lengthy questions, especially that comes in chemistry and physics, but it will also help you in questions which you have no clue about. Like there are going to be a lot of, like there are going to be a certain amount of bouncers, there are going to be a certain amount of question that you must have never heard before or must have come from topics that you have not read. So doing this methodology, you should be able to come to a right answer with a higher probability. So that's why I was focusing on this methodology. Okay, now let's go ahead. Now coming to the last day of your preparation. So this is a very important time, and this is not the time for learning anything new, or this is not the time for doing any number of GTs or going into research into any topic. That is not the right way to do it. There are the entire idea, the entire theme of the last day of preparation is that to maintain composure and be in control of your mind. And the idea is to relax and be comfortable with the topics which are high yield and usually forgotten by you. So there are certain things that you can do on that particular day. One is that read those topics which you usually forget but is very high yield. And personally for me that was inorganic chemistry, and I had made a few pages notes of organic chemistry which I usually forget. Bio and I used to read on the last day, and physics formula I used to revise only the formulas. So personally that was my easily volatile topics. The another thing is that a certain amount of meditation and music really helps a lot. Be relaxed and just be calm, just be confident. तुमने जितना पढ़ा है वो काफ़ी है तुम्हारे लिए. You don't have to do more than that. Just be comfortable with how much you have done. Second thing is that sleep early, have a sound amount of sleep so that your brain can work at this best efficiency while you are writing your exam. And having regular meals and having quite a light meal is better. Now, what are the things that you're not supposed to do on the last day? Like I was telling, you're not supposed to do GTs and avoid FOMOs, avoid using phone as much as possible. And the second and the last most important thing is avoid procrastination. Now, this procrastination is something it's very difficult to have a control on it. Like there are certain things what I used to do at that time. One is that meditation kind of helped. I used to use an app called Atom. And the other thing, what I used to do was like whenever my mind goes into procrastination, I directly start jumping into doing MCQs. I don't think about it. I just procrastination and I just jump into doing MCQs. It used to be a reflex. Trigger is procrastination and the reflex is doing MCQs. So it will kind of help you to practice MCQs as well, and it will somehow it is like this, like your actions kind of stops your thought. Okay, let's go ahead now. Now, what to do during the last 3 to 4 days of your preparation. Now here is the time where you're supposed to practice whatever I told you. I told you about time management, I have told you about how do you approach a question, and this is exactly the time where you're supposed to practice this too. Other than that, you're supposed to do a lot of PYQs. You're supposed to do GTs of 1 or 2 max, and ideally it is better to do those GTs exactly corresponding with the time of your examination. For example, if your time if your exam is in between 9 to 12:30, it's better to do the GT or practice a GT in between those hours. Then other than that, um, like whenever you are doing a GT, try to complete the GT 5 to 10 minutes before. It will just make you faster. Like when you're doing your GT in your at your home at your comfort, uh, you will be able to do it on time. But when you go into an exam environment where there is a it is a different environment, there might be a bit of noise issues and all those things. Doing a GT in that environment uh, will take a little more time than what you usually do while you do it at home or any comfortable environment. So it's better to try to complete your GT at least 5 to 10 minutes before than your stipulated time. Okay, let's go ahead then. Now topics, I'm not really sure of what you're supposed to read. I gave my exam about 5 years back. So that time there had been quite a number of dominant topics, but now it would have changed. But generally, what I would like to tell you is that uh, just focus only on the high yield. At this point of time, there is no point of doing any research. Just focus on the high yield. Do a lot of PYQs in order to understand which is high yield, and ideally use a combination of strong subjects with weak topics. What happens is that strong topics will boost your confidence and weak topics kind of holds your confidence down. So using a combination of this helps you to maintain a stable confidence level towards the exam. Okay, now the third thing is that yeah, as I was telling, do only MCQs, do PYQs, and thing is that there might be some topic that you might have never read in your whole life. So if you have any topics like that, it is a it is better to do PYQs of that topic rather than just going through the topic, as you don't have much time. So doing those PYQs kind of builds an idea of the topic, and you have an you and by chance if the same question repeats, you are in a position to answer that question, or at least you have an idea of that question just because you have done a number of PYQs. All right. And yeah, avoid reading anything new during the last 4 or 5 days. It is just going to take your time. So finally coming to the strategies, usually what happens is that a person who is a NEET aspirant is usually good at bio and is somewhat average at physics and chemistry. Uh, they usually get about a score of 280 in bio, and physical chemistry they somehow over around 100 to 130 each. So apparently that is not an enough score to get through the exams. So there are certain strategies which you can adapt according to your strengths and weaknesses in order to develop. So the strategy number one is the one which I did during my UG days, because for me bio was the strongest, and I thought I wanted to make it more stronger because I had very limited number of days, like 3 to 4 days. I thought the one thing which I can improve is the one which I'm already strong at. So I went with bio as well. So I overcompensated in bio, and physics and chemistry I played decently. Like I just improved a little bit about 1 or 2 questions. So it came around 130 to 140 per subject in physics and chemistry. Now, those who are good in physics and chemistry and find bio difficult, they should target a score about 280 to 300 in bio, and physics chemistry try to jump to 150 to 160 range. So either one of the strategies could be applied for you, but it depends. It is totally individual dependent. So it totally depends upon your strength and weaknesses. That's it. So this marks the end of my video. Wish you all the best, and I hope all of you do really well. Be confident, be calm and composed while you're giving the exam, and just remember one thing, that no matter however the exam goes, it doesn't matter. uh, thing is that you are giving one of the toughest exam and one of the most competitive exam in the most populated country of the world. So it comes with its own challenges. So don't worry about it after the exam gets over. Don't go run around, don't keep running around and try to analyze it, and don't be hard on yourself. Be happy you made the decision of taking this challenge in your life. It is not an easy choice, and be proud of yourself and keep going, keep swimming. I'll see you on the other side of the road. Thank you then. If you liked my video, please subscribe and like. And if you feel that any of these things, what I told, kind of helped you at any point of time, just please do comment. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Bye.